Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in the guys from Green Druid. Graham and Chris and Graham, whichever combination you like. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Good.
I got jokes and I'm not even ready with a punchline. I'm just laughing and silly. It might be too many coffees, too many. But yeah, man, I'm super excited. As I said before we started recording the chat with you guys, 3 records in 3 years. You guys see, if you're not prolific, you have the world fooled, because it seems like you guys are working all the time at your craft. At the Maw of Ruin, which is a fantastic title, is coming out very soon in a few weeks, and I'm stoked to talk to you guys all about it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
We're very excited for it.
Nice. Do you guys write all the time? Has that just been, maybe it wasn't a plan, but you guys have put out 3 strong records in a short span of time and an EP prior to that?
I think for this album, like we were just kind of like working on the Ash and Blood material for a long time. That album was like recorded over the span of, I don't know what you would say, Chris, like a year or something like that. It was like we would write a song and then we would record it, and then we would work on another song, and then we would
it's not a couple of years, because we basically did it in 2 parts with 2 different recording artists, and so it was just kind of this hodgepodge of recordings that we had at the time.
Mm-hmm. And then Earache picked that up and released it, and then we were just kind of did a little touring on that, some performances locally as well. And then Earache approached us for the second record, which we had like not started on at all. They were like, hey, do you guys have another record for us? And I think that was like, I want to say like November of 2020. Was it 2018 or 2019, Chris?
It was probably like 2019 at that point, because like it was 2 years between Ash and Blood and this new one coming out. And it took us like pretty much the full year just to get acquainted with Mikey, our new drummer, and everything like that, and learn how to write again and all that kind of stuff. So we probably spent, probably like a year writing and recording it. But yeah, I'm glad that you say that we're prolific, because a lot of people would say otherwise. But man, this shit takes time. That's what I've learned, especially in a pandemic when things get set back and all that kind of stuff. But I think we're rolling better now. I think we're going to have a better workflow now, just that we're more used to writing as a band and as a unit and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll see.
Right on. I will just draw back for 1 second. I like that you mentioned the sort of hodgepodge approach, because I have personally had that happen to me, where I had to put together a record from a variety of sessions, and it is a challenge, right? I think people don't take consideration about how hard it is to just put out the will it takes for a DIY musician to put out a record and have everything be consistent, and how changing even something like the studio or an engineer can radically affect what you envisioned, for your music. So props to you guys for the stick-to-itiveness and the moxie that it takes to just kind of continue to strive.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate that.
The last record was very prophetic and dark. It almost kind of predicted this year a little bit. I've been joking with a lot of doom, death, and black metal bands. It's like we kind of brought this on ourselves lyrically, if you want to. We conjured this shit into existence. Not really, but it's funny. But it's weird. This album, again, similar musically, same vein. But I found myself a little strangely uplifted by this album. I don't know if that's something you guys have heard yet or will hear, but I don't want to say hopeful doom, like life metal, right? In a way, but like that Sun record, but in a way, like a very uplifting, dramatic journey musically that really made, like, I felt good at the end of it, which normally I feel not so great, but still very strong after a very rough record, a tough record. But this is like a very uplifting experience.
That's cool. That's interesting to hear. I definitely think it has like some hope to it, like despair and hope kind of together. It's interesting just because like you never really know what a record is going to be until it is. And I don't know, I think we just all changed a lot during the process of writing it and everything like that. Like I think it was originally going to be this super dark, hateful, um kind of experience, but then over time, I don't know, you kind of become something different. Like it was like the original plans for it was going to be like a record about like self-loathing and hating yourself and everything like that. And I don't know if I just like just calmed down or something, or just started to look at other aspects of life and about the world going on and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, it just kind of, those aspects of it kind of started to just ease out of it, I'd say.
I agree with that too. I think, I definitely agree, Chris, like that all of us changed a lot during the writing process of it. To me, a lot of my experience while writing it, but also I think to a degree thematically ties in with the album is like ego and kind of letting go of ego. And I think that like that's something that I personally have worked a lot on, and I think the rest of us have. And just I think there is an element of hope with that. It is kind of like a battle of like battling your own ego, but I find the more that I can like let go of that side of myself, like the more inner peace I feel. It doesn't feel like every single day, you have like this defensive reaction to everything. And like the more success I find in that process, the more like inner peace I personally have.
Nice. I like that. And we all, you also can't discount personal growth, which happens. You may envision the artistic process and say, here's what my plan is, and then you change or life changes or something. So yeah, that's just what again, personally, that's what I got out of it. Somebody else may hear it and be like, oh, just like the last one, everything is horrible. And it's not. Everything is not horrible, and nobody hopefully is sad or angry or emotional or dealing with shit all the time. Hopefully there's some sunny patches in this crazy world. But I got to shout out Chris. The vocals are amazing on this. Probably my favorite of all your work. And
Thanks.
and again, lyrics I try not to read too deeply into,
Sure.
and I let the artist interpret them. And I like to leave room that they probably mean things to different people. But you guys do seem to, and maybe it owes to the genre, but I think lyrically and topically, you guys do pull from obviously a lot of the human experience and failure in that somehow by everybody. But yeah, fantastic job on the vocals here. I don't know if it was something you had worked on or just this collection of tracks, but great
Yeah,
work.
a lot of it was the guy that we recorded with, Dave Ortero. He just had a really good sense of what the songs needed, of doing like those vocal melodies and everything like that. Because how it worked was I would just kind of bring him a skeleton of like what I thought the vocals could be, and then he would take it and create, something really, really crazy, really cool out of it, really like musical, in ways that I don't know if I could have, especially not at the time. So yeah, he was a really good mentor for all that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. David is amazing. Has recorded some of my favorite records, not just of this year, but in general.
Us too.
And yeah, do you guys have a favorite that led you guys? Obviously, he's local, but also that a choice to work with him. Was there a favorite record of yours of his?
For me, it's that Primitive Man record, Caustic. Like there's just something about it that just feels violent. I don't know quite how to describe it. Talking with even Dave personally about it, he's like, dude, Primitive Man might be the most visceral band that I have ever recorded. And listening to him even talk about how like, it's a sound that could have only been created by those guys and like how they approach music. I just think it's so sick. Like the guitar tone just feels like it wants to hurt you. And Ethan's vocals are brutal in a way I don't think I've heard another vocalist capture. So for me, it was that Primitive Man record. And I think there's also an aspect that I appreciate about Dave's approach where I feel like bands still sound like themselves. Like he has his touches and he has his like kind of signature um, approaches that he likes to bring to the table. But I do think that he has a good way of letting the band's personality shine through.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I mean, that was kind of something we were thinking about how we wanted a record that was more captured more of like what we sounded live, as if we were just playing it in a room. Because like obviously I love how Ash and Blood turned out and I love how that record sounds, but it is like super layered to the point of where when you see us live, it's going to be a little different because like it's just, you can't have six guitars playing at once,
Mhm.
um so I think he did a really good job of capturing that more like live sound.
Rad. It's kind of funny. I feel like David, and in another sense, Primitive Man, and even Ethan personally, are the nexus of all Colorado metal things lately.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Such a good scene, so many good bands. One of my personal favorite records for this whole. I was just trying to look at my best of list for this year, which is always impossible, and for a guy like me. And In the Company of Serpents, he worked on that record. It's like one of my
Yep.
favorite. The Primitive Man record is one of my favorite. The Havoc record is one of my favorite. Shout out to Havoc because I'm a big thrash guy too. So so many good things, and you guys now as well. So fantastic stuff.
Yeah, the Serpents record was amazing too. Grant is from In the Company of Serpents is on our record as well. I don't know if you caught that as you're listening to it, but yeah, he's on the um, Desert of Fury, Ocean of Despair, like the second half of that track. He does that just like crazy gravelly um, vocal approach that he has. And so it was really exciting to be able to work with him because we just approached him and we're like, hey, we think you're really cool and want you to sing on our record. And he was like, yes, let's do it. So
Yeah, he's been a huge supporter of us since the beginning. It feels really good.
mm-hmm.
Killer, great guy. I didn't know it was him, but that is my favorite song on the record.
But
So
yeah,
that's particularly the one that I connected with and listened to a few times. I always listen to a record a few times all the way through before any review or chat, and then I listen to like whatever I like this track. I like mark off which tracks are my favorite, and I re-listen to those and try to figure out why they're my favorite beside the obvious. And so yeah, that track is fantastic. He's great. That record, Lux, is great. I can't say enough good things about it. It's definitely going to be in my top however list somehow. And yeah, just you guys happen to be, shining at the right time from this very fertile place, musically, and also where you're from, which is, fortunate.
yeah. But
Denver is
believe me,
incredible.
we're very thankful to be a part of this scene right now because it's pretty amazing just what's happening in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. And I gotta just to call back again to another thing you said about that live sound. Chris made the point about that. You guys, it does sound like a much more live record now that I think about it. And yeah, I mean, obviously we're a ways away from actual shows. I don't know how you guys are doing. And again, I sincerely, I hate to lose the human element of these conversations. I do hope you guys are well, your families are safe or not ill, or if you were, you're better now, or you guys are just free from tyranny and voter oppression and police brutality and any of the crazy things going on in this country right now. So I hope you're all well, and the guys and your friends and crew and scene are okay, because as much as I love talking about music and art and all this and riffs all day long, I don't want to lose that part of us.
Yeah, I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
I don't want to forget that ever. And we're all kind of going through a thing together collectively as a group.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. I mean, I agree. I think that's extremely important of a thing to remember, especially with just like the way the political spectrum has been in this country and everything like that. It can feel very like you against me and everything. But at the end of the day, it, like you said, we're all in this together, especially with the COVID stuff. It's just like everybody's dealing with something right now. And yeah, and I just think that's important to remember in general.
Word. Back to the album a little bit. Let's talk about this album cover because I'm a big fan of artwork. I think artwork it's important. When bands don't value it, you can tell. And when they do, like you guys, it shows. And I think it has shown in your career that you guys take a little extra attention to detail and things like that. So lovely job on that artwork. And it does kind of, without telling the whole story, it does kind of tell the story a little bit of the album.
Yeah, I feel like it does too. That's a good way to put it. I didn't think about that. But yeah, why don't you take this one, Graham?
The artist, his name is Paulo Girardi. I hope I pronounced it right. And I just like stumbled upon him on Instagram. I think like there was like a death metal band that we played with in Taos at the Monolith on the Mesa Festival called Dysphotic, I think is what they're called. And their album cover was awesome. And I was just like, shit, who did that? And I looked at it and it was Paulo. And so, immediately I was drawn to like the really dark surrealism that I think he captures in his work. It has a little bit of those like classic old school death metal vibes to it. But there's a really like painterly quality that his work has as well. And so immediately, we had been kind of like looking at a whole bunch of different artists for our work and been like, yeah, that's cool too, I like that, what about this? And like he was the first guy that we all discovered that was just like, yes, like this guy, this is the person that we want to do our album art. And we approached him, and like the dude is awesome, like he's super easy to work with. And we basically like pitched him the like kind of what we had envisioned for the album cover. It's like we want it to be trippy, some sort of deformed looking corpse on a throne in the middle of like an apocalyptic wasteland. And he was like, yep, I got this. Like didn't send us like a sketch or anything like that. We just saw like a basically completed painting like a week later after he had started working on it, and we're like, no, yeah, that's it, that's what we wanted. And so he killed it, man. I was really glad we had the opportunity to work with Paulo on that record.
Nice. Again, one of those things you couldn't know. You don't have a crystal ball. There's no way to know the entire Pacific Northwest and mountain areas of this country would be completely on fire in 2020. But it does look like he's sitting in the middle of a forest fire on a crazy throne. A burning king, a little bit. Like you see the ash in the lungs and the flames in the lung. Anyway, again, I try not to read too deeply into these things, but sometimes you can't help yourself. But yeah, great stuff, man. Great stuff, and perfect for this very doomy music. I'm so glad you mentioned Monolith on the Mesa a little bit, Graham, because we're big supporters of that festival, and it does seem like that region of the country, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, really fertile place for doom and stoner doom bands right now. And these event, I hope we get it all back. But yeah, Monolith is. I wanted to ask about your experience there actually, because we had helped promote that festival, and I think we did a contest and gave away a pair of passes, and we were talking about coming out this year, which did not happen obviously, and I believe it will be back next year. They seem very fixated on the long run, so I wanted to ask about your experience playing that fest.
It was incredible, man. I mean, the organizers, Roman and Dano and all those guys that helped put it together are just incredibly like professional and just like kind natured people. Like, when you meet people and they just kind of like exude this aura of kindness. Like that's how I felt about Roman. We met him on tour in Albuquerque when we played Sister Bar, and we played with his band Red Mesa. And he just immediately made us all feel super welcome, and he was like, hey, come crash at my place. And like we just had like a great night hanging out with Roman and all of the people that came to that show. and ended up being able to create a really, really good relationship. And they do really good work, man. Like we played the first year the festival happened, and it was so well organized. Like, I think all of us were really blown away by how well put together that festival was for it being a first year fest, and
Yeah.
just a great experience in general.
Yeah, I totally agree. Everything from, like you said, the organization to the lineup to I mean, like seeing Ohm with like the Mad Alchemist visuals on stage and everything like that. Like that was like I've never seen a live show like that before. And it really felt like something special, like being there and seeing this kind of shit and just being like, man, this is not the kind of stuff that you're going to see just anywhere, like this is a true desert show. And yeah, it just felt really good. And we had so much fun. um, and I can't wait to go back, either as a performer or just as someone attending the festival. So
Hmm.
Killer. I just have a couple more questions for you guys. You guys have been terrific. Of course, I can't chat and not talk about Earache. Earache is one of the legacy labels in all of metal history, and I think for a long time they had kind of sat back, and I think they weren't signing a lot of new bands, and they were just kind of focusing on their back catalog, which anybody who had their back catalog would do. There was a period of time they had all the best bands and all the biggest releases, and now it seems like they're kind of throttling forward a little more and signing newer bands. And it seems like Green Druid is one of those like type of bands. I think bands on the come up, rising and peaking. Hopefully not peaked, but peaking still, and continuing to grow. And it's really for me, a guy that's been around the scene for a long time, I love to see that, because I think you see a lot of labels out there and you wonder like, oh, they seem to only sign one kind of band, and Earache is kind of having like this new rebirth a little bit. And like I said, I feel like your band is part of that, so I wanted to get your take on how that's been so far with them, and they seem to be doing a swell job.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, like we're really grateful for our relationship with Earache. I think we were like I would be an idiot to not admit that we were insanely lucky to be signed by them. It was kind of a thing where we were plucked from like complete obscurity. We weren't out there like grinding it out, like touring or doing anything that you could normally do to attract the attention of a label. And we put out the Ash and Blood EP. And if I recall correctly, they found it on Bandcamp and just dug it a lot and approached us and asked us if we wanted to work with them. And we were like, we're not like, I don't think any of us were really expecting it. And so we, said yes. And thankfully it's been I think a pretty good relationship thus far. I think working with a label is always going to be like a challenge, just because that it's going to increase like your workload a lot whenever you are suddenly it's like it's hard enough to collaborate with a band, let alone like the however many people are on like the Earache side of things. So it's a lot of work, and it has its challenges, but we're really grateful for it, and I think that it's done a lot to propel our career forward. So yeah, I think we're stoked about it too.
yeah, our fan base has grown leaps and bounds because of their outreach. And yeah, there's just nothing like seeing, having people send you pictures with your record, and it's from Spain, or it's from Germany, or it's
Mhm.
from Ireland. Like, we now have like little fan bases all over the world, and that is just really incredible to me.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, that's absolutely thanks to them.
Mhm.
Right on. Good stuff. Good stuff. And then just for a last little question for you guys. Obviously, without touring and a way to promote this record, it's a very strange time in the world. But aside from getting ready to release this record and music stuff, what have you been doing to just kind of keep yourself busy, sharp, occupied, keep them going insane? Any hobbies, any skills, anything any good books, any good games, anything you want to share?
I mean, me personally, like I've been brewing a lot of coffee. Like that was kind of like the hobby that I got like way into at the start of the pandemic, was just like brewing coffee at home. And getting more into like the specialty beans and like nerdy shit about it. So doing a lot of that, increasing my caffeine dependence exponentially, I think. Um, and then just playing like a lot of video games, like online with friends, and just like single player stuff as well.
Cool. Anything in particular you like? Any games?
I'm trying to think, like one that I've been playing like a lot with friends online recently. It's kind of silly, but very unique experience. It's like a horror game called Phasmophobia. And it's like a ghost hunting game. It's cooperative. You get like 3 or 4 people together, and then you're just like given like a haunted house, and you have to like find the ghost in the haunted house. And it's non-scripted. It's not like a storyline. It's just like a procedurally generated experience every single time. And it's kind of janky. I think it's in early access still, and so the developers are continually like adding stuff to it. But there's just something about this game that scares the living shit out of me. I don't know what it is. Like I've played a lot of horror games, and like, yeah, they're always spooky, but like this one, like I feel like my teeth chattering when I play it, and I'm like tensed up. And like one of my friends was like, it gives me heartburn, like trying to play this game. I don't know what it is. And so I think like that I'm kind of like addicted to that adrenaline rush of playing that game right now. So that's been fun.
Neat. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, if I'm not doing band stuff, I'm probably playing video games. Right now I just finally got around to playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and finished that all the way through, and it's incredible. I didn't really care for like Western stuff too much before playing it, but gotta say, it's got a way of just like getting under your skin, and your inner cowboy comes out. And and so that was a really great experience. And then I just finished Soma, which is this kind of survival horror game, super sci-fi, lots of what does it mean to be human kind of stuff in it. Ghost of Tsushima I played, which was amazing. As far as just like samurai power fantasy, there's nothing better. And I love samurai stuff. So like that was totally I loved every second of it. But yeah, just trying to knock out my huge list of indie games right now that I'm done with, like a bunch of big AAA stuff. So yeah, I always like seeing like what kind of experimental stuff people come up with while we wait for the next Dark Souls, of course.
Nice. Right on. Awesome, man. You guys are terrific. Again, can't say enough good things about this record. At the Maw of Ruin is coming out December 4th on Earache Records, the great Earache Records. Green Druid, Chris and Graham, thank you for your time. Thanks for hanging out with Ghost Cult. And hopefully we get to do this next time in person, maybe with some beers or whatever, coffee. And I love coffee too. So maybe we can do this in person next time somewhere else in this great land.
That sounds
Right on,
excellent, man. Thank you so much for your time and for your questions, and just yeah, giving it a listen, giving it your time.
Yep. Thank you. We appreciate you, man.
Indeed. Same. Right back at you.